So we've got the Masters coming up very soon, a return to darts after a few weeks away. I'm sure you'll be craving for some darts, even if it is on ITV4. You know what? There's some great names involved in this year's Masters. Obviously, they've expanded the field to 24 names. Some people like that. Some people, like Sam Gill, do not. 24 great names in the world of darts, and obviously all the big names involved. Potential Premier League place to play for, as we've discussed. Sam, give us some of your picks from that first round. There's a few games that leap out to me. Which ones leap out to you?
Well, I'll probably say Michael Smith, Adrian Lewis is the main tie it's going to be focused on. I don't know if that'll be that great, to be honest, as much as the two power scorers who get trebles for fun. Adrian Lewis isn't in any form whatsoever. Michael Smith similar, but towards the end of the year at the Grand Slam when he was brilliant, and various other tournaments he kind of just didn't get it right at the Worlds. I'd say Glenn Durrant, Mervyn King's a big game for Merv against the Premier League champion. It's also a big game for Durrant to see where his game continues to go after his World Championship run. I'd probably pick out Christoph Ratajski and Simon Whitlock as a potential Premier League game, especially with them playing Peter Wright next round. Of course, Christoph knows Peter Wright quite well from his rise up the tour. Whitlock, of course, will be after that Premier League spot, and has been almost aggrieved this. I'd probably say in terms of the reckoning with his wins over Michael van Gerwen, and of course he won't be playing Michael van Gerwen at least for a while until at least the quarterfinal stage. Jose de Souza will be interested to see where his game is. Cullen and Bunting, not really a game I'm a particularly big fan of, but of course they both had big runs at the World Championships. Excuse me. And so I'll be interested to see if they can force themselves into the reckoning. Bunting even as well as a potential Premier League pick. We haven't really spoken about him. He did really well, and if he can even beat Gerwin Price, he'd have potentially Gary Anderson in the next round, and we could see even a return of the World Championship final between Gerwin Price and Gary Anderson. So it's going to be an interesting tournament. I'm not a big fan of the 24. I think it's as much as it's an extra day for players, it's more money for players, and it heightens the importance of the Masters. That's all it does, in my opinion. As a darts fan first and foremost, as opposed to somebody who writes about darts. I've never been a big fan of the Masters. I think it's a bit of a nothing event. And even if they increase the prize fund like they have, increased the players, it won't get me that much interested as a darts fan to watch it. It'll be interesting to see how some of the big names get on, especially like I've said previously in the show, that it's almost a tinkering tournament for a lot of players. Probably especially the likes of Michael van Gerwen, who will likely he'll likely have new darts again. I'd probably say, especially with his defeat to Dave Chisnell. Peter Wright, of course, changes darts every 5 minutes, so it'll be interesting to see what he uses. But it's going to be another extra day of darts. It's a good lineup in a way of the 24. There's not really in it that don't really deserve to be there. It's one of the good things about the top 24. There's not really any players who have almost stagnated and have fallen down the rankings and aren't in any form. Probably barring one or two names, I'd probably say Adrian Lewis is one of them. But yeah, ultimately, it starts at the end of the day, especially in the times of lockdown and everything like that. It's good to have sport, as much as sometimes I don't agree with a 24.
Yeah, I mean, for me, Mervyn King is one of the names that probably stands out. If Glenn Durrant, although he improved slightly during the World Championships, he's not been in the greatest of form over the last 6 months or so, and Mervyn King has been in great form. So for me, Mervyn King is a name that I'd pick out to possibly beat Glenn Durrant, and then a possibility of Rob Cross in the second round, who's really been sinking over the last 12 months. There's chances there for Mervyn King, and even if you look at the quarterfinals, it's Ian White, Mensah Silovic, or Nathan Aspinall. So in terms of what you can look for a potential semi-final run for Mervyn King, it looks pretty juicy to him. And then you've obviously got the potential, as you say, of Gerwyn Price, Gary Anderson, a repeat of the World Championship final in just the quarter-final stage, best of 19 legs, of course. So there were some definite, potentially excellent games in the second and third rounds of the tournament. But for me, the first round, although it's great to see all these players play in, and obviously it's their job and they need to earn the money. There's some clashes there which for me don't quite match up. Ian White, Mensah doesn't particularly excite me, I must say. But nice to see Simon Whitlock play again. Obviously, he's been in great form. Didn't really produce what we'd like to see at the World Championship. Gurney Desvan's another one. But with tournaments like this, especially playing a player outside the top 8 in the first round, players can play themselves into form. And if you see a good performance from somebody in the first round, you'd make them not a favourite, but you'd give them more of a chance against the big name in the second round. So there's definite chances for some of the players to really work themselves into the reckoning, not just for the Premier League, but for winning a TV title and getting to the back end and earning some good money in the first big tournament of the year.
I'd probably say Ian White's another name who could produce a run. If he can get past Mensah, he's got Nathan Aspinall, who, as we know, has not been great on TV all year. And then the winner of that will play Rob Cross, Glenn Durrant, or Mervyn King. So if it's a Cross-King game, King ends up going through, we could even see a quarter-final of Ian White versus Mervyn King, the winner playing Price or Anderson in the semi-finals. So it'll be interesting to see, especially for a player like Ian White, who has been for years written off in terms of the Premier League conversation even. A run for him if he can beat the world champion and the world number 1 in the semi-finals, reach a final even, as much as that potentially won't get him in. It'll put his name on the map for the rest of the year, and it's going to be an interesting one for players like that who, again, have been unfairly at times left out the Premier League, and in my opinion, like Christoph Ratajski as well, who will be among those names in the coming years that probably get left out, and so it's going to be an interesting year as a whole, and it'll set it all up with this tournament, especially if we don't have any darts for a while, which is a possibility. And in my opinion, that's the reason why it's been done. It's the reason why there's a 24-player field. In my opinion, it's nothing to do really with the Premier League, like we kind of said with it being on ITV. Seen as a bit of a free roll and a way for players to earn money during times when they wouldn't. And I think as well you'll end up getting such things as the home tour coming back as well, even the Icons of Darts League in terms of Modus, and you'll probably end up getting those coming back in the coming months, because I don't see a lot of darts after this. So it's a good opportunity for players to get out, and it's darts at the end of the day, and I'm looking forward to it by in the first round at times.
Yeah, I think there's plenty to look forward to, as you say. I think we will see the return of the home tour, but it'd be good to see the world's top 24 players in action in a tournament which could have real bearing on the Premier League. So I'm looking forward to it. For me, I can see a winner from the pack already, and that is Gerwyn Price. He's obviously in the opposite side of the draw to Michael van Gerwen, but he's also in the opposite side of the draw to Peter Wright. The potential Gary Anderson quarterfinal is probably the hardest game he would face in his half of the draw. So if he's to get through that, you would fancy him to reach a final with either Van Gerwen or Wright. And even the surprise names that you may expect, like your Whitlocks and your Vandenbergs, are in that bottom half. So for me, that top half is where all the smart money will go, and Gerwyn Price is the name on the massive high of winning the World Championship. We've seen it obviously with Peter Wright last year, going on and winning the Masters just a month after, 3 weeks after the World Championship final. And Gerwyn Price is probably the name I'd expect to go and do that again. So, Sam, your pick to win it?
Price as well. It's going to be an interesting one with that, because, of course, Anderson, we don't know what condition he's going to be in or when he's going to be getting surgery. Even the same with Vandenberg. Vandenberg can play with it. he probably, especially as an elite player now, won't really get a lot of time off unless he doesn't get included in the World Series, and he might ask not to be included in the World Series because he's a player who potentially would due to his status as a fan's favourite and his club. So I'll be interested to see if Gary Anderson makes it even to the Masters. I'm not 100%. He could decide to play the Masters and then have surgery and miss the UK Open if that takes place in March. But it's very much the clock's ticking for him, because especially if he ends up taking his place in the Premier League, and it's not a case of him just getting acupuncture or another method as opposed to surgery, it might have been a good time really for him to take the next few months out. And like he said, having reached that World Championship final, this not being a ranked event. So yeah, but even if so, you could have, if he's not 100% fit, you could have Michael Smith or Adrian Lewis coming through their first game and facing off against him, and you'll end up getting the old mentor versus protege shtick that always seems to be brought out. And I think Michael Smith, with no pressure after that World Championships, there will be the pressure on him to make the Premier League, but he's not off the high of a run, so you can kind of have a bit of a free roll. He could be very much dangerous. And him versus Gill and Price in the quarterfinals, as well as Price versus Anderson, is very tasty for me. If you're not looking at that, I'd say either Michael Van Gerwen or Peter Wright, of course, or James Wade. They're all in that quarter at the bottom of the draw. You could have Van Gerwen, Wade in the quarterfinals, then Van Gerwen, Wright in the semi-finals. You could even have a repeat of that Michael Van Gerwen, Dave Chisnell game in the semi-finals. So it's a very interesting tournament. And I'd probably plump for Gerwen Price right now, but it's one of about three players, in my opinion. It's Michael Van Gerwen, Price, Peter Wright for me to win this tournament as usual. And it's probably something we'll say throughout the year in terms of winners for the UK Open, the Premier League, the World Match Play, and even the World Championships at the end of next year. I think it's going to be those three names that come to the fore. And it'll be interesting to see if anybody can come out of nowhere, like you say, the likes of Mervyn King, like Simon Whitlock, even your Adrian Lewis is potentially having is something that's been spoken about quite a lot, and he hasn't really delivered. But his time's running out. As much as this wouldn't bring him back up into the top 16 if he won it. Imagine Adrian Lewis in the Premier League. You never know. As much as he's had a shocking 18 months, he can still produce, and it'll be interesting to see if he can again on the Masters stage with no real pressure on him. To be fair, yeah.
Yeah. Well, you're sounding more and more like Wayne Mardle picking James Wade for a prediction to win a major. But Gerwen Price, I think, is the obvious pick we've both gone for. And we look forward to seeing the Masters late January, 3 days in Milton Keynes, top 24 players in the world, £60,000 for the winner, I believe. Looking forward to it. We'll be there, hopefully, in person. But if not, we'll have interviews coming up on Zoom for the Masters. Can't wait for some more darts. We'll see you very, very soon.